In 1943, at the height of her Hollywood repute, Rosalind Russell all of a sudden disappeared. No films, no public appearances. She honestly vanished. For many years, the reputable tale changed into exhaustion. Now her son Lance, in the end, exhibits the devastating reality. But this is now not the simplest mystery they stored. From her real start 12 months to the untold tale behind her Oscar nighttime heartbreak. That is, the Rosalind Russell no one knew. Rosalind Russell changed into, born on June 4, 1907, in Waterbury, Connecticut. Her own family turned into rich, and she grew up in a huge residence with 18 rooms at 305 Hillside Avenue. There have been servants to assist with the whole lot. Her father, James Edward Russell, became a hit trial lawyer who made loads of cash working for huge organizations. Her mother, Clara McKnight Russell, came from a rich-owned family and worked as a fashion editor for Vogue magazine. Rosalind's name did not come from Shakespeare's play As You Like It, despite the fact that many people notioned so. Her dad and mom named her after a steamship, the SS Rosalind, which they'd traveled on. This uncommon name matched her persona, which could lead her to a unique life. Rosalind went to strict Catholic schools, including Marymount College in Tarrytown, New York. Her lifestyles changed into sheltered, but she wanted greater freedom and pleasure. At 19, she secretly applied to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. She knew her dad and mom would not approve, so she lied to her mom, announcing she desired to grow to be a teacher of dramatic arts, as opposed to an actress. This small rise-up confirmed her formidable spirit, which have become part of her character and career. Later, in her films, she regularly played unbiased girls who stood up for themselves. After completing at the Academy in 1929, Rosalind commenced her profession. Her family didn't like her choice, but she didn't care. She worked as a fashion version to make cash, posing for top designers and appearing in magazines. But she never gave up on performing and saved searching out degree roles. Her first huge destroy got here in 1930, when she got an element in the Broadway Evaluate Garrick Gaieties. The display turned into a tête-à-tête and ran for 161 performances, giving Rosalind her first taste of reputation. In the summer season of 1930, Rosalind made a bold choice. She joined an inventory organization in Saranac Lake, New York, even though her parents did not want her to. She lived in cramped quarters and carried out a new play each week for 7 months. This experience was difficult, however. It made her a better actress. She discovered to evolve fast and think on her feet, skills that might later make her well known. In 1931, she joined Edward E. Clive's repertory company in Boston. During this time, she realized how critical voice performing was for the new talking images. She commenced taking critical voice and making song classes to prepare herself. In 1932, Rosalind in brief tried opera. She accomplished in small venues around New York, however quickly found out her voice wasn't robust enough for classical, making a song. Instead of being discouraged, she used this joy to push herself, more difficult. She decided to recognition on Hollywood and performing in movies. By 1934, Rosalind moved to Los Angeles to chase her dream. She had her modeling Revel In and Broadway heritage to assist her stand out. Universal Studios supplied her a settlement quickly after she arrived. But her time at Universal became horrible. On her first day, she felt overlooked and unwelcome, and the studio didn't deal with her properly. Rosalind quickly found out Universal wasn't the right location for her. At the identical time, MGM, the most prestigious studio in Hollywood, noticed her. They invited her for a screen take a look at, and Rosalind noticed this as her risk to escape Universal. She got here up with a clever plan to get out of her settlement. She decided to make herself appearance so terrible that Universal wouldn't want her anymore. On June 15th, she went to meet Carl Laemmle Jr., the top of manufacturing at Universal. He appreciated glamorous women, so Rosalind did the other. She messed up her hair, smeared her makeup, wore unsightly garments, or even used an worrying voice. She slouched and acted clumsy, even spilling espresso on his desk via accident. For 45 minutes, she complained noncommittally how depressing she turned into at Universal. Carl was so uncomfortable and unimpressed that he agreed to allow her cross. The moment she left his office, Rosalind rushed to restoration her look and headed directly to MGM to signal a new settlement. Just 17 days later, on July 2nd, 1934, Rosalind officially joined MGM. She signed a 7-12-month settlement, and the studio turned into already enthusiastic about her potential. Her first huge opportunity got here fast. She turned into cast in Evelyn Prentice, a movie starring big names like William Powell and Myrna Loy. Rosalind had a small, however essential role as Mrs. Nancy Harrison, with most effective 12 mins of screen time. But even in those 12 mins, she made a strong affect. During filming, there was a hard moment, whilst she had to carry out an emotional breakdown in a courtroom scene. She changed into apprehensive about appearing along such famous stars and could not get the scene right at the beginning. The director, William K. Howard, were given indignant and yelled at her in the front of everybody. Instead of falling aside, Rosalind used her real frustration to gas her performance. She cried for real and delivered one of these powerful scenes that everybody turned into amazed. The movie got here out on November 9th, 1934, and critics observed Rosalind's skills proper away. The New York Times even referred to her by using call praising her performance. MGM executives saw her capability and gave her a raise, boosting her income from $300 to $500 a week. By the quit of the 12 months, she had already landed roles in 3 greater movies, and her profession turned into on the rise. Her huge moment came in 1939 with the film The Women. It wasn't a smooth adventure to get the role. The director, George Cukor, originally desired a person else. However, when that actress couldn't take the component, Rosalind stepped in. She boldly walked into his office and stated, "I am Sylvia Fowler." Cukor gave her a hazard. However, the first 4 display assessments didn't move nicely. He thought her overall performance was too over the pinnacle and not sharp sufficient. Each time, Rosalind went lower back to her dressing room in tears but refused to surrender. For her 5th and final take a look at, she went all out. She spent $500 of her own cash on a custom outfit and studied a panther on the zoo to make her movements extra sly and pussycat. She gave her fine performance and it worked. On April 25th, 1939, she was formally cast as Sylvia Fowler. Filming commenced in May, and Rosalind didn't simply forestall at performing. She labored with the hairdresser to create Sylvia's specific flipped hairstyle, which became a fashion amongst fans. When the film launched on September 1st, 1939, it turned into a massive fulfillment. Rosalind's performance stood out, and critics loved her sharp wit and comedic timing. The film made over $2 million, and Rosalind's income was raised to 3-0 every week. She had become one in every of Hollywood's top comedic actresses. During filming, even though, there was one infamous second. On June 17, 1939, Rosalind and her co-megastar Paulette Goddard had been filming a fight scene. They were purported to have a playful cat fight. However, after 14 takes, everyone became exhausted and annoyed. And on the 15th take, things got out of control. In the heat of the instant, Rosalind bit Paulette at the leg. Paulette screamed in pain, and filming needed to forestall. Rosalind's chunk broke the pores in skin, and Paulette wanted 3 stitches. The studio quickly got here up with a fake story for the clicking, announcing Paulette had harmed herself whilst driving a horse. Rosalind became horrified by means of what she had done and attempted to apologize. However, Paulette refused to talk to her for weeks, Eventually they made up or even have become pals afterward. The chunk left Paulette with a small scar on her leg, which may be visible in some of her later movies. In her 1977 autobiography, Russell ultimately addressed the incident publicly, writing, "I've played many animals on display, cats, snakes, you call it, but that day I virtually became one. It's a moment I've regretted for many years, but it taught me an invaluable lesson, approximately the line among appearing and reality. The bite scene, even as not used in the very last cut of the movie, has grown to be mythical in Hollywood lore." In 2019, throughout the 80th anniversary screening of The Women at the TCM Classic Film Festival, Goddard's granddaughter revealed that the family still owned the get-dressed Paulette wore in the course of the notorious scene. Rosalind Russell became one of the most unforgettable stars of Hollywood's golden age. Her massive smash got Heroine, His Girl Friday, 1940, wherein she starred opposite Cary Grant. The role of Hildy Johnson wasn't firstly meant for her. Director Howard Hawks first supplied it to Carole Lombard. However, her fee became too excessive. Other stars like Jean Arthur, Irene Dunne, and Ginger Rogers also turned it down. Even Russell herself doubted she should play the part and tried to convince Hawks no longer to hire her. The film became famous for its fast communiques spoken at a fantastic pace of 240 words per minute, nearly 3 instances quicker than standard. To keep up, Russell practiced her strains for hours every day. She'd driven herself so tough that she fainted during rehearsals and even advanced a stammer which she needed to paintings hard to fix. What made her overall performance even extra awesome changed into her improvisation. Russell felt her man or woman did not have enough exact lines, so she secretly employed a copywriter to create greater quips for her. She slipped those into scenes without warning, surprising Cary Grant, who had to quick react to her ad-libs. This gave their on-screen chemistry an energetic, unpredictable feel. When the movie premiered, Russell left the theater midway via convinced she had completed a horrible process. But the film have become a large fulfillment, earning over $2 million, a large quantity for $19.40, and made Russell a comedy-famous person. Russell's profession wasn't just about comedy. She earned 3 Oscar nominations in 5 years for terribly one-of-a-kind roles. In My Sister Eileen, 1942, she performed Ruth Sherwood, a character from Ohio. Though Russell became in reality from Connecticut, she worked with a dialect instructor for months to perfect a Midwestern accent. Her role was so convincing that audiences believed she simply came from Ohio. In Sister Kenny, 1946, she performed Elizabeth Kenny, an Australian nurse who evolved a debatable polio remedy. This position was non-public for Russell. Because her nephew had been dealt with the usage of Kenny's strategies, she spent 6 weeks residing with the real Elizabeth Kenny to research her mannerisms, even copying her walk. Her third nomination came from Morning Becomes Electra, 1947. In which she performed Lavinia Manin, a dark and complex individual. This position changed into emotionally draining for Russell, and the depth of the film prompted her to have a fearful breakdown after it finished. At the 1948 Oscars, Russell became so positive she would win for this role that she commenced to get up while the high-quality actress winner was announced. To her surprise, Loretta Young's call became known as Alternatively. Russell later joked about how loudly she sat back down. One of Russell's maximum well-known roles got here later in her profession with Auntie Mame. She first performed the part on Broadway in 1956, after which in the 1958 film Audition. Getting the role wasn't smooth. Producers desired Greer Garson for the element. Russell had to combat for it, even appearing scenes inside the manufacturer's workplace to prove she may want to play Mame.